Top Fuel Harley rolling under the tower. That's my cue to head out of here. I appreciate you inviting me up onto the mic. We're, like I say, once the show's over, we'll be open for a little while longer selling T-shirts down there. If you're down and around, come by. We've got stickers for the kids, candy for the kids, earplugs, stuff like that. Thanks again to all the West Coast Pro Mod sponsors, especially guys like RCD, Artex, Staco, WPI, 24/7, all those. I'm forgetting a bunch. Hopefully I can get the rest of them the next time I'm up here. But, you know, we just sent it. Again, that's our motto here in the West Coast Pro Mods.
So Justin Bond, your #1 qualifier, heading into Saturday with that 368. And, of course, the Pro Mods back for 3 qualifying hits tomorrow. And then they'll have their eliminations coming up to see who gets that $10,000 prize on Sunday here at Doorwarz 11, presented by the Titanium Auto Group. Nitro Harleys lined up and ready to go and roll into the water box. So you can hear them firing up with the aid of the starters. Again, the riders off the bike when they are first turned over. It is Nate Gagnon versus Pete Waugh. Waugh, the TCS side of the racetrack for the Big Kids Racing team. And it is side-by-side Big Kids Racing. Top Fuel Harleys for the Western Canadian Top Fuel Harley Group as they get ready for the burnout. Clean off those big Goodyear rear slicks. So Gagnon in the Lordco Auto Parts side of the racetrack. Ran a 660 at over 200 miles an hour earlier on in the Test and Tune session. He is over there again. Lordco Auto Parts side of the racetrack. Pete Waugh, his Big Kids Racing teammate, getting ready to line it up. And the TCS side of the racetrack. Watch these front wheels. If they make a full pull, they are not going to touch the ground until well past the 8th mile mark. Gagnon out of it early. Pete Waugh drives it through to a 660 or 687 with a 204 miles an hour for the rider out in Nanaimo. Qualicum Beach's Nate Gagnon shutting it off early in 840 with a 2 at 112 miles an hour. As you get a look at the instant replay up there on the big screen, as well as the Lordco Auto Parts live stream, courtesy of the folks at Valley Tech Productions there, with side-by-side header flames out of the pipes. And up next, another pair getting ready to head into the water box and turn those bikes over. And, of course, we had the Big Kids Racing guys out for the CMDRA drags a few weeks ago. We also had the folks from Cycle Drag coming up from the U.S., their first time to Mission Raceway Park, that got to watch all the action and document that across their various social media pages as well as their website. So Jim Schellenberg over there on the Lordco Auto Parts side of the racetrack out of Surrey, getting ready to fire up his machine, and we'll see what Jim can do over there in the Lordco Auto Parts side of things. Tension in the pits, Outlaw 275. This is your standby call. Outlaw 275 for MDA Fabrication. This is your standby call. Making his return to Top Fuel Harley competition, Ron Haunay. That is Ron Haunay. Again, try that one more time. Ron, Braden Sport Fishing, ADV Fast Lane Racing, Fast Lane Custom, Top Fuel Harley. And Ron Haunay taking a few years off from Top Fuel Harley Racing, coming back in 2023. Up against another experienced Top Fuel Harley rider in Jim Schellenberg over there in the Lordco Auto Parts lane. TCS machine for Schellenberg. And again, Ron Howney, the TCS side of the racetrack, getting ready to roll into the beams. Saw that 687 from Pete Bois, the TCS side of the racetrack. What can Schellenberg and Howney do as they get ready for our second pair of Top Fuel Harleys presented by Rad Torque Systems? So here we go. Ron pre-stage, Jim at stage. Jim now stage, waiting on Ron to turn out the bottom bulb. Jim Schellenberg getting to the top end first, 691 with a 203 miles an hour. As Ron Howney, a 735 with a 187.34 miles an hour on the TCS side of the racetrack. Again, 691 for Schellenberg for the rider out of Surrey getting to the stripe first. So again, Big Kids Racing, Top Fuel Harley. Chrissy, I know you're down in the starting line for the Pro Mods. What was the perspective like from the Pro Modified qualifying session down at trackside?
Well, you know, that was my first time going down there to the start line, and certainly my first time seeing Pro Mods in person. And I'll tell you, my hearing is definitely not there. That'll hopefully come back a little later, but amazing, you guys. The power of those things is literally just blows you away.
Well, here we go with yet another Top Fuel Harley. Damien Cowden from Shawnigan Lake on Vancouver Island, bringing us the supercharged Top Fuel Harley. Usually these bikes injected on nitro, but Damien and his team from Vancouver Island trying out a completely different combo for the folks at Parker Johnson Roofing, Danger Boy, as well as Lord Co Auto Parts, helping to bring us Damien on board of this machine. Of course, supercharged nitro-fueled drag bikes, popular with likes of Larry Spider-Man McBride, the fastest man on two wheels at over 270 miles an hour over the quarter mile in a drag bike. But still in the world of nitro Harleys, still relatively a new concept. And Damien kind of exploring the unknown here in the Pacific Northwest with really one of the first supercharged bikes. And if you get a look at it down in the pits, man, is it an impressive machine as he gets ready to go down the racetrack. Big time header flame off the head. Unfortunately, he's going to have to shut it off as it shakes, rattles, and rolls. And Damien Cowden will head down the racetrack, coasting his way to the top end. And
currently, 5 riders have qualified in the Top Fuel Harley field here in this one, as we'll be getting set to roll back into second qualifying hits in just a short little while from out to be Harley-Davidson. Top Fuel Harleys. Pete Wall currently sits number 1 on the boards with a 687.9 at 204 miles an hour. Pete Wall, of course, won Top Fuel Harley in the Canadian Motorcycle Drag Racing Association race that came on out here to play about a month ago now. Nate Gagnon was runner-up in that event. He currently sits number 4, but had to lift off on his one installation hit so far with an 842 at 112 miles an hour. Nate Gagnon brings it up out of Qualicum Beach. Rad Torque Systems, 2012 European World Champion over here. And of course, a runner-up in CMDRA. Pause for burnout as Ron Howney brings it up in the braided Sport Fishing Advanced, Fast Lane Racing, and Fast Lane Collision. Top Fuel Harley out of Mission, BC. some of the most volatile vehicles that you will be seeing on the property all weekend long, and some of arguably the most thrilling as well. These are the one vehicles you couldn't pay me to ride them. Anything I have to put a Kevlar vest on to be safe on, and even then it's still 50-50, yeah, pass. Hard pass for me on that one. Gagnon had to pedal it a little bit at the start, gets back into the throttle though, runs a 731, 212 miles an hour. Ron Howneit goes at a 766 at 142. Rolls us into the next pairing. We'll bring up Pete Waugh over in the Lordco lane. Jim Schellenberg over here, TCS side. Pete Waugh once again taking the win against Nate Gagnon in Top Fuel Harley for the CMDRA race here back in May. Jim Schellenberg currently sits number 2 on the qualifying sheets with a 691 with the 2 at 203 miles an hour. Has to improve by about 400, so he wants to go for the number 1 qualifying spot. Both riders pre-stage. We bump fully forward into the staging beams. Jim Schellenberg, the last driver to stage here. And Jim Schellenberg going to cross the center line, and he'll have this run nullified and voided. Pete Waugh chases it through 738 with a 6, 141 miles an hour as Jim Schellenberg took a wild move over to the center line, crossed the center line, and at that point just backed it out.
Jim doing a good job to kind of steer that bike around the cones to avoid further delay there for the rider from Surrey. Is Pete Waugh again getting down the racetrack to 738 with a 6, early shut off at 141 miles an hour. Pete deep in the 6-second zone last night, coming into Saturday here at Doorwarz as your number 1 qualifier in Top Fuel Harley. Is one last Top Fuel Harley getting ready to fire it up. Down there in the Lordco Auto Parts side of the racetrack, Damian Cowden out at Shawnigan Lake in the supercharged Top Fuel Harley, which is different from the regular combination these bikes run. Usually they are injected on nitromethane, but Damian with one of the first combos of this nature here in the Pacific Northwest as they're getting ready to fire that bike up, Nolan.
So far, he is the very bottom of the list, and well, when you're into the Top Fuel Harley runs, when your ET starts with the double digits on the second time, I think that means your run's nothing to write home about. So looking for big improvements, had to shut it off almost right out of the hitch the last time by.
They have been trying to chase the setup in this thing, as they mentioned one of the only supercharged Harleys really up here in the Pacific Northwest. So not a lot of people you can call for advice on the tune-up for this motorcycle, and has still had relatively few passes in its life. Kind of been plugging away with a handful of test sessions over the last season or so before really stepping up the program here for Damian, who's a former threat when the NHRA was running these as part of their national event program. Unfortunately not happening in 2023 for the Top Fuel Harleys. There you can see they're getting that starter motor on the side hooked up. And you mentioned the Kevlar vest that they have to wear underneath of the riding leathers, and the bike actually having to be started with the rider off of it in case the motor hydraulics, when they go to turn it over, So looks like, unfortunately, Damien taking off the gloves down there as the bike is not going to start, so they'll have to push that bike back. His Top Fuel Harley rolls into the water box. So don't worry over there on the spectators side. The next time that the West Coast Pro Modifieds come up, the Morin Motorsports team's going to give away the other door over on your side of things. But the pit side getting the love right now to see who gets that door. Here we go. Top Fuel Harley, Jim Schellenberg, and Ron Howneat back on a Top Fuel Harley after a long absence from the class. Looks like one lucky fan getting down there. One young guy gets a door off of a 1941 Pro Mod Willys, courtesy of Morin Motorsports. Thanks to those guys and Steve Horn also for putting up that prize as we get ready to watch some 200-mile-an-hour motorcycles with Jim Schellenberg out of Surrey in the Braden Sport Fishing Fast Lane Racing Fast Lane Customs. Harley Davidson out of Mission for Ron Howneat. Schellenberg pre-stage over there in the Lordco Auto Parts side of the racetrack is Ron getting ready to bump on that top bulb. Here we go, Top Fuel Harley, first pair in round number 3 of qualifying. Schellenberg exploring all of the real estate in the Lordco Auto Parts lane as he rides on through to an 889 with a 4. And Ron Howneat on and off of the throttle with a 766 with a 2 at 153 miles an hour, coasting it on through in the TCS side of the racetrack as another pair getting ready to fire it up. And it is the Big Kids Racing teammates.
Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. All electronics to lanes 2 and 3. Electronics to lanes 2 and 3. Stock and super stock to lanes 4 and 5, please. Electronics to 2 and 3. Stock and super stock to 4 and 5.
So again, Big Kids Racing in the box right now, getting ready to roll out with Pete Watt and Nanaimo. The TCS side of the racetrack, Nate Gagnon over there out of Qualicum Beach. The Rad Torque Systems Harley for the 2012 FIA European World Champion. Nate actually spending an extensive amount of time in Europe racing these Nitro Harleys in their top fuel bike category as Pete Waugh getting ready to light off that big rear slick in the Big Kids Racing Harley Davidson over in the TCS lane. Both of these bikes have been over 220 miles an hour, and again, carrying that front wheel for well over half the racetrack if everything goes to plan. Waugh running a 689 earlier on this weekend at over 200 miles an hour. So here we go. Pair number 2 in Top Fuel Harley. Side by side to the top end. How about a 649 with a 6,216 miles an hour low ET and top speed of the meet for Nate Gagnon, and a 691 with a 593 miles an hour for Pete Waugh, the TCS side of the racetrack. So Nate Gagnon over 216 miles an hour. We've got Top Fuel Harley in the water box getting ready to fire up.
Top Fuel Harley action as they get fired up. Notice that they fire them up standing on the side. They wear Kevlar chest protectors, and that's all because they want to stay away as they start them up from the twin V manifolds. That is a precarious time. So about 1,000 horsepower sitting between the legs of each of these riders. We get set to go for the first pair. So here's a little taste of Nitro. Ron Howney and Nate Gagnon. Ron from Mission, taking some time off. He is back on the scene after a brief time away, a few years. Nate has been carrying the Top Fuel Harley flag for a good number of years. The Big Kids Racing program that he has. If you ever go through his pit area, there's at least 3 or 4 bikes that he's working on. Nate's over on the Lordco side. Ron's over here on the TCS side. Nate is pre-stage, just waiting for Ron to bump forward a little bit. Not much steering ability on the bikes. You'll watch them wrestle, manhandle, moving around on the seat to keep it in the groove. The front wheel off the ground as they sail on down the quarter mile. They are staged. Here comes the tree. Nate way up in the air about the half track, 670 at 211 miles an hour. Nate Gagnon gets that win. Ron goes 696, but if you were watching here on the replay, you can see Nate's front wheel off the ground for the full 8th mile there, and he will come back around, do another pass. So Nate Gagnon, 670 at 211 miles an hour. They were certainly looking to set a new track record. Track record was set way back in 2014 here at Mission Raceway by Damian Cowden. And Damian ran 624, and Tony Grimes did this mile per hour record of 234. So they were hoping after almost 10 years that we could be resetting those Top Fuel Harley records. So the day is young. We still got a few more runs to go, and that certainly might happen. Nate's run there is 670 at 211 miles per hour. Sorry? So our second pair, Pete Waugh and Jim Schellenberg. Jim from Surrey and Pete from Nanaimo. The winner of this pair will match up with Nate for a final. So Pete Waugh over here, Tower side. Jim Schellenberger in the blue Top Fuel Harley. He's ready to get in there. There we go. Wow, Jim out of shape and has to get off the throttle to stay upright. Meantime, Pete Waugh goes 680 at 196 miles per hour, and he drops the laundry out at the top end. Here you can see again on the replay on the big screen as Jim gets over to the wall and pretty much out of the prepared traction area and has to lift off the throttle. So his run 1078, 143 miles an hour. But Pete Waugh will go and face Nate Gagnon in a final 680 at 196 miles per hour.
Top Fuel Harleys are just behind the water box, getting ready to go for their final round. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. We need the rerun that we have from round number 1 of Junior Street to the lanes. Rerun from Junior Street to the lanes, and we need no box, non-electronics, to the back of the lanes to be laddered.
So Cole going to take a well-deserved rest of the vocal pipes, and I'm going to see who wins this Top Fuel Harley matchup. We were looking at the results from the previous runs, and it works out to Nate Gagnon running up against Pete Waugh. So I talked about this earlier, the track record in Top Fuel Harley, 6:24 at 234 miles an hour. There's a good chance we could better that here. Either one of these racers out of the Big Kids Racing stable, if you've been through the pits, you've seen that big trailer where all of Nate Gagnon's machinery is. There looks to be like 3 or 4 Top Fuel Harleys sitting in the pits there. So he's got quite a squadron of Top Fuel Harleys. Pete Waugh over here, Tower side. Nate Gagnon from Qualicum over on the spectator side. Nitromethane in Twin V Harleys. And they are set. Watch the front wheels. All sorts of body English as Nate Gagnon goes through with a 6:54. 6:54, 214 miles an hour on, well, I was going to say 2 wheels, but a lot of it was done on 1 wheel. That's right, 1 wheel. Nate Gagnon goes 6:54, getting ever closer to that track record that was probably set evening in just perfect conditions. We got a hot track out there, so this is even more amazing. 6:54 for Nate Gagnon at 214 miles per hour. So that's a absolutely spectacular pass for Nate Gagnon. Pete Waugh, no slouch, 7:02, 182 miles an hour, as they worked real hard to keep it in the